Surprised, Mr. Okonkwo.
The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor of the penthouse as Chukwuemeka stared at the woman he'd just married, his former maid, Amara. She stood there in her wedding dress, holding a document that made his blood run cold. "Surprised, Mr. Okonkwo?" she said, her voice no longer the soft, submissive tone he'd grown used to. "Let me properly introduce myself. I'm Amara Nwosu, your new business partner. I own 51% of Okonkwo Enterprises. My mother once said I'd never reach 100,000 subscribers. But stories like this deserve to be heard. If you believe that too, please subscribe. And let's keep these voices alive. Now, let's continue. Chukwuemeka Okonkwo had everything a man could want. At 35, he was Lagos's most eligible bachelor, CEO of Okonkwo Enterprises, a multi-billion naira conglomerate his late father built from nothing. His face was on billboards, his name in business magazines, and his DMs full of women who wanted a taste of the luxury he provided. But he was tired. Tired of the pretense, the gold diggers, the society women who saw him as a walking ATM machine. His mother, Mama Okonkwo, God rest her soul, had passed away 3 months prior, and her final words haunted him. "Emeka, money without love is a gilded cage. Find someone who sees your heart, not your bank account." That's when Amara walked into his life. She was hired by his house manager, Mrs. Okoli, to replace one of the maids who'd quit. Chukwuemeka remembers the first time he saw her, early morning, on her knees, scrubbing the kitchen floor, her wrapper tied around her waist, sweat glistening on her dark skin. She looked up, startled, and quickly averted her eyes. "Good morning, sir," she whispered, her voice like honey. He should have walked away, but something about her humility, her quiet dignity, drew him in. Over the following weeks, he found himself making excuses to be in whatever room she was cleaning. They'd talk, small conversations at first. She told him she was from Enugu, supporting her younger siblings through university after their parents died in a car accident. "I'm not ashamed of what I do, sir," she said one evening as she watered the plants on his balcony. "Honest work is honest work. My mother always said pride doesn't put food on the table." Chukwuemeka fell for her, hard. Not the superficial attraction he felt for the Instagram models and society girls, but something deeper. Amara didn't care about his money. When he bought her a phone, she returned it, saying her old one worked fine. When he offered to pay for her siblings' school fees, she refused, insisting she'd handle it herself. 3 months after meeting her, he proposed. Not in some fancy restaurant, but right there in his living room as she was arranging the cushions. "Marry me, Amara." She dropped the cushion, her eyes wide with shock. "Sir, Mr. Okonkwo, I don't understand." "I love you. I don't care what society thinks. I don't care that you're my maid. I want you to be my wife." Tears streamed down her face. "But sir, your family." "I have no family left except distant cousins, who only call when they need money. It's just you and me. Say yes, Amara. Please." She said yes. The wedding was small, intimate, exactly how Chukwuemeka wanted it. His business associates were shocked. His father's old friends called him crazy. "Chukwuemeka, have you lost your mind?" Uncle Festus bellowed over the phone. "Your father built an empire, and you're marrying a maid? What will people say?" "Let them say what they want," he replied, ending the call. Amara's siblings came, 3 younger ones, all looking uncomfortable in their Sunday best. Her sister, Chaitanma, pulled Chukwuemeka aside before the ceremony. "Mr. Okonkwo, please, take care of my sister. She's been through so much. She deserves happiness." "I promise you," he said, meaning every word. The wedding was beautiful. Amara looked like a queen in her white gown, her natural beauty needing no enhancement. As they exchanged vows, Chukwuemeka felt genuinely happy for the first time since his mother's death. But the moment the pastor pronounced them husband and wife, everything changed. Amara's phone rang. She glanced at it, and something flickered across her face. Something Chukwuemeka had never seen before. Control. Power. "Excuse me, my love," she said sweetly, kissing his cheek. "I need to take this call." She stepped away, and Chukwuemeka watched as her posture changed. Her shoulders straightened. Her voice, when she spoke into the phone, was crisp and authoritative. Nothing like the soft-spoken woman he knew. "Yes, confirm the transfer. All shares are now consolidated under my name. Activate the secondary accounts." Chukwuemeka's stomach tightened. What was she talking about? The reception was held at Chukwuemeka's estate. As guests mingled and music played, the company's CFO, Mr. Adeyemi, pulled him aside. His face was pale, sweat beading on his forehead despite the air conditioning. "Sir, we need to talk. Privately. Now." They went to the study. Mr. Adeyemi locked the door behind them and handed Chukwuemeka a folder with trembling hands. "Sir? I don't know how to tell you this, but there's been unusual activity in the company accounts. Large share transfers over the past 3 months. I've been trying to reach you, but you were preoccupied with wedding plans." Chukwuemeka opened the folder. His vision blurred as he read. Shares of Okonkwo Enterprises, his father's company, his legacy, had been systematically transferred through shell corporations and offshore accounts. The final recipient, Nwosu Holdings, Limited. "Who the hell is Nwosu Holdings?" he demanded. Mr. Adeyemi swallowed hard. "That's what I've been investigating. Sir, the primary shareholder of Nwosu Holdings is your wife, Amara Nwosu." The room spun. "That's impossible. Amara doesn't have that kind of money. She's a maid?" Was she, though? Mr. Adeyemi pulled out more documents. "Sir, Amara Nwosu graduated top of her class from London School of Economics. She's been working as a corporate strategist for the past 10 years, specializing in hostile takeovers. 3 months before she was hired as your maid, she purchased significant shares in your company through intermediaries." Chukwuemeka couldn't breathe. But how? The shares weren't for sale." "Your father's old business partners, the ones who fell out with him years ago. They've been selling their shares quietly, and she's been buying. Combined with the shares, she manipulated you into signing over." "I never signed over any shares." Mr. Adeyemi's expression was pitiful. "The prenuptial agreement, sir. The one she said was just a formality to protect you from gold diggers. You gave her power of attorney over certain business assets as a gesture of trust. She's been exercising that power." Chukwuemeka stormed out of the study, the folder clutched in his shaking hands. He found Amara on the balcony, looking out over Lagos, like a queen surveying her kingdom. She turned when she heard him approach, and for the first time, he saw who she really was. Gone was the humble maid. Before him stood a woman of steel, her eyes calculating, her smile cold. "I was wondering when you'd find out," she said calmly, sipping champagne. "I expected you to piece it together sooner, honestly. But love makes people blind, doesn't it?" Chukwuemeka threw the folder at her feet. "Who are you?" She laughed, a sound nothing like the shy giggles he'd fallen for. "I told you. I'm Amara Nwosu, daughter of Chief Obiora Nwosu. Does that name ring a bell?" His blood turned to ice. Chief Nwosu, his father's former business partner. The man he'd allegedly cheated out of his share of the company 20 years ago, leading to a bitter legal battle that destroyed the Nwosu family. "Your father ruined mine," Amara continued, her voice hardening. "He used legal loopholes and his connections to steal what was rightfully ours. My father died broken, in debt, his reputation destroyed. My mother followed him 2 years later, her heart literally broken from the stress. I raised my siblings on scraps, while you lived in this palace built on our stolen legacy. That's not true. My father was an honest man. Was he? She pulled out her phone, showing him documents, old contracts, emails, testimonies. See for yourself. Your precious father was a thief. A brilliant, charismatic thief, but a thief nonetheless. And I've spent the last 10 years preparing to take back what's mine. Chukwuemeka spent the next week in a daze. His lawyers confirmed it. Amara legally owned 51% of Okonkwo Enterprises. The prenuptial agreement he'd signed, thinking he was protecting himself, had actually been a masterfully crafted trap. Every romantic gesture, every vulnerable moment he'd shared, had been calculated. We can fight this in court, his lawyer, Barrister Ogwike, said. Argue fraud, manipulation. With what evidence? Chukwuemeka slumped in his chair. I signed everything willingly. I gave her access to everything because I trusted her. There must be something. There's nothing, he shouted. She's been 10 steps ahead this entire time. But Chukwuemeka refused to give up. This was his father's legacy, his birthright. He started digging into Amara's past, hiring private investigators, calling in favors. What they uncovered shocked him even more. Amara hadn't lied about her siblings. They existed, and she was indeed supporting them. But they weren't struggling. They were enrolled in the best universities, living comfortably on money from trust funds she'd established years ago. The poor village girl routine had been pure theater. Her education was real, top of her class at LSE, then Harvard for her MBA. She'd worked for some of the world's most ruthless corporate raiders, learning their tactics, perfecting the art of the hostile takeover. And then she'd set her sights on Chukwuemeka. She's been planning this for years, his investigator, Emeka Jr., reported. She even had plastic surgery to look more approachable, less like the corporate shark she is. The humble rapper, the accent, the whole submissive act, it was all designed to appeal to your desire for authenticity. Chukwuemeka felt sick. Every moment they'd shared had been a lie. Every "I love you" had been manipulation. He'd been a mark, a target, nothing more. But then something else came to light. Mr. Adeyemi called him urgently one night. "Sir, I found something. The offshore accounts Amara used. Some of them have been flagged by international regulators for money laundering. If we can prove she used illegal funds to purchase the shares, we can invalidate the transactions." Hope surged through Chukwuemeka for the first time in weeks. "Are you sure?" "I'm working with forensic accountants now. Give me 2 weeks." Those 2 weeks were the longest of Chukwuemeka's life. Amara had moved into the master bedroom, acting every bit the lady of the house. She held board meetings, made executive decisions, all while he seethed in silence, waiting for Mr. Adeyemi's findings. Then, disaster struck. Mr. Adeyemi was found dead in his apartment, an apparent suicide. The forensic accountants mysteriously closed their investigation, claiming they'd found nothing irregular. Chukwuemeka knew. He knew Amara was behind it, though he could never prove it. The woman he'd married wasn't just ruthless in business. She was dangerous. Chukwuemeka was ready to give up, ready to walk away with whatever scraps she'd leave him. But then he remembered something his mother once said. "Emeka, true strength isn't in power or money. It's in knowing who you are and what you stand for." He realized he'd been fighting Amara on her terms. Corporate warfare, legal battles, manipulation. But what if he changed the game? He called a press conference. Every major news outlet in Nigeria showed up, curious about why the famously private billionaire would suddenly seek attention. Amara tried to stop him. "Chukwuemeka, what are you doing? Think about the company's reputation." "I'm thinking about the truth," he replied. walking onto the podium. The cameras flashed as he began to speak. "My name is Chukwuemeka Okonkwo, and I want to tell you all a story about love, betrayal, and the sins of our fathers." He laid it all out. His father's alleged theft of Chief Nwosu's share, Amara's elaborate revenge plot, the hostile takeover disguised as a romance. He held nothing back, exposing both his family's dark past and Amara's ruthless present. "I don't know if my father truly stole from Chief Nwosu," he concluded. "But I do know that revenge poisoned Amara Nwosu's heart to the point where she could manipulate a grieving man's loneliness, fake love, and potentially order the death of my CFO when he got too close to the truth." The media erupted. The scandal was everywhere: newspapers, blogs, social media. Okonkwo's scandal trended for days. Amara was furious. She confronted Chukwuemeka that night in the study, her mask of control finally cracking. "You fool! You've destroyed both our reputations. The company's stock is plummeting." "Good," he said calmly. "If I can't have my father's company, neither can you. I'd rather burn it all down than let you profit from your lies." Something in her eyes changed then. The steel softened, just for a moment, and Chukwuemeka saw something he hadn't expected. Pain. "You think this was easy for me?" she whispered. "You think I enjoyed lying to you every day? Pretending to be someone I'm not? Did you?" She turned away. "At first, yes. You were just the target, the son of the man who destroyed my family. But then you were kind to me. Not because you wanted something, but because that's who you are. You talked to me about your mother, your loneliness, your dreams. And I started to—" She stopped, shaking her head. "You started to what, Amara?" "It doesn't matter. The damage is done." The scandal had unexpected consequences. The Nigerian corporate regulators launched a full investigation into both Okonkwo Enterprises and Nwosu Holdings. Old documents from the partnership between Chukwuemeka's father and Chief Nwosu surfaced, documents that told a more nuanced story than either Amara or Chukwuemeka knew. Yes, Chukwuemeka's father had used legal maneuvering to push Chief Nwosu out of the company, but it was because Chief Nwosu had been embezzling funds, using company money for personal investments. Chukwuemeka's father had given him a choice: leave quietly or face criminal charges. Chief Nwosu had chosen to leave, but spun the narrative as theft, painting himself as the victim to his family. When Chukwuemeka showed Amara the evidence, bank records, emails from her own father admitting the embezzlement to his lawyer, she collapsed into a chair, all the fight draining out of her. "No," she whispered. "No, that can't be true. My father was a good man. He told us. He lied, Amara, just like you lied to me. The difference is, I'm showing you the truth." She wept then, deep, body-shaking sobs that seemed to come from years of repressed pain. "I destroyed everything for a lie. I became a monster for nothing." Chukwuemeka should have felt vindicated. Instead, he felt empty. They were both victims of their father's choices, trapped in a cycle of pain and revenge that benefited no one. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice small. He thought about it for a long time. "We start over. Not as husband and wife, that's broken beyond repair, but as partners. Real partners this time. We merge our shares, create a new company structure with independent oversight. We use our resources to build something better than what our fathers left us. Why would you do that, after everything I've done? Because my mother was right. Money without purpose is meaningless. And maybe, just maybe, we can break this cycle. Create something neither revenge nor greed can destroy." It's been 6 months since that conversation. Chukwuemeka and Amara are divorced, but they're co-CEOs of what's now called Nwosu Okonkwo Enterprises. It's awkward, sometimes painful, but it's working. They've established scholarships for underprivileged children in both their fathers' names. They've opened investigations into other potential corporate injustices within the company. And slowly, painstakingly, they're building trust. Last week, Amara came to Chukwuemeka's office. "I want to apologize," she said, properly. "Not just for the takeover, but for making you believe in something that wasn't real. You deserved better." "We both did," he replied. "Our fathers made their choices, and we made ours. But we're not them. We can be better." She smiled, a real smile this time, not the calculated ones from before. "Maybe we can." Chukwuemeka doesn't know if he and Amara will ever be friends. The wounds are too deep, the betrayal too profound. But they're trying to build something meaningful from the ruins of their revenge and pain. And sometimes, that's all you can do. So that's the story of how a billionaire married a maid who owned half his company, and how they both learned that revenge, no matter how justified it feels, only creates more pain. If this story moved you, if it made you think about forgiveness, about breaking cycles of hurt, please hit that subscribe button. Share this story. Let's keep these conversations going, because the only way we grow is by learning from our mistakes and the mistakes of those who came before us. Thank you for listening. This story reminds us that love without truth is manipulation, but truth without compassion is cruelty. Find the balance, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find peace. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next story.